Hi everyone, welcome to BullCaster, a talk show with all crypto bulls. Here we are to discuss the most exciting industry topics with the best industry experts, influencers, and remarkable personalities. I'm Constantin Kogan, co-founder of BullPerks. We're excited to welcome our guest today, Roy Hui, who's the founder of LightLink. Full disclosure, we are big supporters of LightLink, investors, and we're launching their project soon. So really excited to have you here, Roy. Welcome to BullCaster.
Thank you, Constantine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, since you're joining us, now we have this ability to showcase, and introduce you to the audience. Please let us know, really briefly, how did you get to blockchain? What inspired you to get into this industry?
Interesting question. I have a computer science background, and I think computer science speaks a lot about a profession. You have to be super curious about technology. You have to love technology. You have to be the kid who took apart alarm clocks when you're little, And those are the traits that I'm looking for when we hire engineers to have, great members on our team. And throughout your career, it's the same pattern. You are fascinated about technology, you go really deep into it, and you look at how technology like this can change the world. And blockchain is one of those technologies in our generation. So it found all of us, right? In different stages of our lives. And when I saw the technology, Bitcoin initially, and how different blocks calculated different transactions, and the transaction hash formed the chain of blocks, it was absolutely amazing. And there was nothing else like it. So super passionate about technology. Even to this day, I live and breathe it every day.
That's beautiful. Now, talking about technology, LightLink, right? So think about it like as an elevator pitch. What is LightLink and what inspired you to create LightLink, and what problem or problems that does it solve?
Sure. LightLink is a layer 2 Ethereum-based blockchain. There are a lot of similarities with other top popular blockchains out there, like Optimism, like Arbitrum. So we're able to scale on-chain transactions on top of Ethereum. By that, I mean we can process large amounts of transactions at the same time, able to complete those transactions very fast. So able to process over 400 million transactions every day. And our key differentiation, it's great to be a fully featured layer 2, right? But our key differentiation is our enterprise mode. So when that mode is engaged, when you're interacting with our chain, it becomes a gasless experience. And from my perspective, the need of a native token, so acquiring a native token, going to a centralized exchange, KYC, putting the transactions through and getting the native token, it's a fairly difficult exercise for the normies, the non-crypto natives to be able to acquire those tokens, right? So for you to use a ticket to play a game, to do things on chain, it becomes quite difficult to do if there is a barrier to entry. So one of the big, hairy, audacious goals that we had was, what does it look like if we remove that capability, remove that requirement, and made the barrier to entry a lot lower for a mass market to adopt? And so that's one of the key characteristics that's different. But at the same time, we are talking to massive enterprise customers, and we're onboarding them and trying to bring millions of new users into Web3.
So obviously we're talking about low cost of transactions, composability, your ability to adopt flexibility to a lot of users. But and there's already testnet, right, which is the name. I love the name Pegasus. And then we're talking about next, which is going to be Phoenix, which is a mainnet. So can you tell us a little bit about your roadmap, where you are right now? What is the big achievements on your roadmap you're planning to have?
Sure thing. Like you said, we've been in testnet for a while. We've also been mainnet for a while. LightLink was actually built on the foundation of our enterprise blockchain technology that we built many years ago. So it's actually been battled, hardened for a long period of time before its current state. And that's why we're quite confident in deploying mainnet. in a short period of time. Since we've been on mainnet, getting more and more participants, especially on the Web3 side, to join our ecosystem and providing and asking them to entertain different business models, because if you are able to think of gas in a different way, in a different economic model, flip on its head, could you open up new innovation and new features and better usability for customers? So of course, LightLink has two sides. One is, it's public, it's permissionless, so you can use Ether to deploy your smart contracts and use it like a normal layer 2. But at the same time, that enterprise mode opens up new capabilities for developers to consider their business models. And we've seen decentralized exchanges like Electric, for example, starting off with Uniswap as a fork, but then innovate on top of that because of this new gasless capability. So it's really cool to see fostering new innovation like that. So we want to continuously engage more developers and challenge them and excite them and provide this innovation to them. Of course, we're doing all the infrastructure, building the Explorer, adding the bridge, and building a more well-rounded set of ecosystems. And we're, of course, iteratively improving the chain by making it more decentralized, by adding more fraud-proof tools, and adding more features as we go.
Yeah, and by the way, talking about the mainnet, there's already 42 million blocks. There's average block time is like less than half a second. Like there's more than 3.6 million transactions. And thousands of wallet, and the GUI is 1.5, which is very low. And so, but we want to also focus on the practical applications. Maybe give us like 3 or 4 examples that we already tested, and like we can actually look on and test it ourselves.
Yeah, sure. Just points to those numbers that you have mentioned earlier. It's interesting to observe. We do about 40,000 transactions a day, and over a 30-day period of time, it'd be 1.2 million transactions. And in the scope of things, that makes us about, between 15th and 20th largest blockchain by transaction volume. With a couple of projects that's coming online, we're hoping to get to about 100,000 transactions per day, and that will make us roughly about the 10th largest blockchain by transaction volume. And that's a really cool achievement to be able to do within a short period of time. In terms of applications, of course, it's an infrastructure, right? So many people can innovate and build systems on top. But one of the partnerships we have formed and opportunities we're exploring is in gaming. So when you look at traditional game developer, if they're exploring Web3, they typically adopt a single chain mentality, and that's putting everything onto a single chain. And that becomes quite cost prohibitive when you want to add, what level I am, how much time I've played games, and information that might not be so valuable as rewards or PFPs, but information that's valuable to yourself as a gamer. So this is where we challenge game developers to say, maybe you can consider a two-chain strategy, putting valuable information that is in the highest transacted marketplaces, but consider your important records and putting them on a layer 2. And because LightLink operates a non-linear pricing model, it becomes much better from an economics perspective for game developers to use LightLink as a tool to anchor information that's beneficial for users. At the same time, we are seeing more and more applications in ticketing. We're actually in conversation with 3 different NFT-based ticketing systems. And that's interesting because it's almost near real time, and ticketing as NFT, trading a secondary market becomes really interesting. And we have, I think, 3 different NFT marketplaces on LightLink at the moment, where if you bought a ticket, you can also trade that from a secondary perspective. So NFT as a ticketing is interesting. Of course, payments is a big category as well. We're currently working with a very large traditional industry where public transportation is built on top of LightLink. That's currently still going through a proof of concept phase at the moment, where if you have a digital wallet, you can tap your wallet on the bus payment area to deduct funds from your wallet, and you ride the bus. Very simple use case, straight in the payments area. And because it's a layer 2 and because it's gasless, transactions like that can happen instantaneously and at massive volume.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we have 2 more minutes before we jump into the questions from the audience, right? What are the main objectives that you have, yet to be achieved, both short-term and long-term?
Yeah, great question. I see LightLink as a infrastructure for us to onboard millions new users. I try to think of our endeavor into 2 parts. One is, can we build a cohesive, vibrant, fully featured Web3 ecosystem? And that's asking the top DEXs, NFT marketplaces, infrastructure to come and participate and build out that Web3 side, right? So it's the future of finance. It's the next level of innovation, right? But on the other side, where I spend a lot of time in, is talking to very, very large enterprise companies. And this is, what we've been doing for the past 6 years in speaking to the leading investment banks in the world and large transportation companies, large media companies, about how can we add value to what they do? Can we bring Web3 concepts into their Web2 world? And from there, we would onboard millions and millions of new users. What I'm hoping to see a year or 2 from now is the merge of the two. If you have a digital wallet and it's a Web2 largely experience, maybe you can unlock borrowing, micro lending, or earning a little bit more interest in that digital wallet. And that becomes the holy grail. How can we onboard millions of new users into the Web3 ecosystem? And all these innovation will shine and adding value to those experiences.
It is.
That's good.
Yes, it is long term, but I sincerely wish you luck with this. So jump in from this segment to the opening to the questions from the audience. We already have a lot of questions from YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. So I'll just go straight forward and ask you. There's actually, in continuation, we just was talking about enterprise, right? So question from YouTube, the enterprise mode of LightLink seems promising for legacy businesses. Could you delve deeper into how LightLink simplifies the onboarding process for enterprises looking to leverage blockchain technology?
Great question. We've been a Web3 builder for the past 6 years. So I've spoken to many CTOs about the technology, and one cohesive message that I hear over and over again is, I actually don't really care about the infrastructure. I don't want to buy infrastructure. Blockchains are cool, but why do I want to, deploy tech resources to integrate with this infrastructure technology? What they want to buy is a solution that solves a problem. And therefore, we're partnering with solution providers to go, hey, instead of trying to sell the chain on its own, how about if we partner and try to sell a solution? It might be a loyalty program. It might be a ticketing capability. It might be a activation for a sporting industry. So looking at our track record, working with Tennis Australia, working with the largest investment bank in Thailand, Polygon Securities, looking at one of the largest conglomerates in Asia called TNB Media, we're already adding substantial value from a values perspective, from a solutions perspective, and all of those capabilities sit on top of LightLink.
Yeah, that's really important. Now, very interesting question also about the gas fees, right? Also from YouTube. It's intriguing that LightLink guarantees stable gas fees. Could you provide more insights into how this is achieved while leveraging Ethereum security features?
Sure. We post our proofs back onto layer 1, and therefore, if you are able to calculate backwards all the transactions that occurred on the chain, and verify if the proofs matches the proof that we post on layer 1. You can verify that these transactions occurred, they occurred at this time, and they were indeed processed by us. So that's how we leverage existing layer 1s from a validity, from a fraud proof, from a calculation proof perspective. Now, we process substantial amount of transactions separately on layer 2, and then we place those transactions on a separate data availability layer that allows us to control the costs, minimize the amount of on-chain transactions from a layer 1 perspective, and at the same time have a separation in terms of costs, and therefore we don't pass on the costs to users of the chain, and therefore we maintain the stability of gas prices. Hopefully that answers your question.
I think, briefly it does, but obviously if you want more answers, there's a way to go to the website and go deeper into. So actually the follow-up question on this, the integration with Ethereum and Polygon is a significant move for LightLink. What other blockchains can we expect LightLink to interoperate with in the future, and how will this expand its usability?
Yeah, from a technical perspective, it's Solidity based, it's EVM. We use Ethereum as our layer 1, but at the same time, if you are building your own dApp, your own bridges, you can build a bridge from any chain to any chain. It's infrastructure, right? So innovation can always be deployed on top. And I sort of see different chains as different economies, right? There are unique characteristics, unique traits, and some might be more closed, some might be a little bit larger, some might be capable in one vertical. And as long as there is value to be created and economies can be connected. And when they're connected, maybe they can work together a little bit better. And we've seen a lot of bridge hacks over the past couple of years. And hopefully through those exercises, we'll have more mature understanding of how to do this technology a little bit better. And bridges in the future might be multi-chain, a little bit more secure, and probably in more trustworthy, decentralized manner. Now, one of the chains that we have already announced on Twitter is Pickup, and it happens to be in the same country as one of our significant backers, in the country of Thailand. And Pickup has a user base of 5 million. And Pickup, in their innovation team, created something called the Pickup chain. And we are integrating with the Pickup chain as we speak. So hopefully we can onboard a lot more economic activities, a lot more users through this partnership.
Nice. By the way, there's an interesting question also about the metaverse aspect, but I'll ask this one before. It's from LinkedIn. Dr. Janwat mentioned that Translucia's vision is to balance socioeconomic and environmental needs. I think they're referring to the Dr. Janvat Aryavanrov, who is it's hard to pronounce his last name, to be honest, but he's a CEO and founder of TNB Media Global, right? And then the question is basically, how does LightLink contribute to addressing such critical issues, and what role does industry collaboration play in achieving these goals? So socioeconomic and environmental needs.
Yeah, great question. I think this is Dr. Tan. I was actually speaking to him earlier today on another call, and he's a true inspiration in a lot of different thought leadership from a digital perspective. So firstly, LightLink is very environmental because it's a layer 2. And we don't operate the same consensus model as proof of work, which is fairly uneconomical from an environment perspective. We have worked with a company called Spiral Carbon to put together a environmental plan, so we can offset a lot of our actually very little carbon that we do produce. And at the same time, the chain, I think I take a page from Vitalik's leadership in terms of it's censorship resistant, That's a key characteristic. It's decentralized, it's highly secure, and it's agnostic with activities on top. And therefore, if you're building a metaverse on the application layer with the smart contracts, you can enforce various business logic, whether if it's incentivizing certain economic activities and disincentivizing others. So I think that's more on the application layer. For example, centralized exchanges do AML and KYC, and that's not on a level from a blockchain perspective. It's infrastructure, it's cryptography.
There's also a follow-up question on this. Like it's from YouTube also. As a metaverse accelerator, which I think they found in the website, what unique experiences or opportunities do you guys offer to legacy businesses and the average user? And how will it impact the transition into hybrid reality?
Yeah, great question. One of the reasons why we built LightLink is to support this massive metaverse project that we're working on. So the Translate Zero project, as you were mentioning earlier. So it's really cool to have somebody asking questions like this. So in the world that I see in the future, money will be crypto and assets will be NFTs, right? Like that's already to a certain degree in the crypto world. But if you're talking about a metaverse world, the most economical, probably the most secure form of money and assets are those two things. And then it's very natural for those two things to sit on top of a blockchain infrastructure. Now, when you talk about infrastructure, then you should compare how many transactions can you do, how fast they are, how interoperable they are with different programming languages, and how big of an economy are they connected to. And that was all the reasons we decided on those factors we mentioned earlier in terms of being EVM compatible, Solidity, interpreter, being able to connect to Ethereum as one of the largest economies in the world. At the same time, a non-linear pricing. So instead of trying to pay $50,000 per day in gas costs, maybe having that predictability is super important for a metaverse capability. So you want to be able to forecast your infrastructure spend for the next 12 months. If you're earning rewards, if you're upgrading your avatars, having that predictability is really important. And that's where LightLink really shines.
And then another important aspect so that you will shine even brighter, but also securely, like as a question from YouTube, could you provide insights into the security measures that enable off-chain transaction processing while maintaining user data integrity on LightLink?
Yeah, again, I think this is a application layer question. So off-chain payment processing will probably be done through on-ramp and off-ramp providers. From a security perspective, I think that's where blockchain really shines because it operates the same cryptography in all the EVM-based chains. So when you look at Binance and Polygon and Ethereum and LightLink, it operates the same cryptography, and therefore you can use MetaMask to connect to LightLink just as you would with any other chains, and you will use the same account because the cryptography that works on your MetaMask or Ledger or whatever device that you use is the same cryptography. And that cryptography has been proven and battle-hardened over many, many years, decades, to illustrate it's one of the most strongest form of encryption. It's asymmetric encryption, right? So from a chain perspective, we've verified and validated that message. We actually don't know what your password, what your seed phrase, what your private key is. We just verify it. And we place those proofs on a layer one, so anybody can challenge whether if we've done this correctly or not. And therefore, through those mechanisms, we are proving that we are secure.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a question regarding our recent integration from Turkey, I guess. In light of the recent integration with BullPerks, how do you see LightLink transforming the landscape of initial DEX offerings and the broader crypto community?
Yeah, great question. I think you can probably answer this a lot better than we would, but I think having a launchpad on the ecosystem is very, very valuable. because as we encourage and build developer relations, and they would create their own innovations, and if they're building uniquely on top of LightLink, then it makes sense to use a launchpad that's natively integrated into LightLink. So hopefully through this partnership, through our integration, we'll be seeing more and more projects on BullPerks.
100%. And then another question, the follow-up question, are we going to see a LightLink IDO on BullPerks? Yes or no?
It's probably a bit too early to tell. We would definitely work together on that objective.
So yes, I think you can read between the lines. So it's good. Another question from YouTube. Beyond the crypto space, what industries or real-world applications do you envision benefiting from LightLink Layer 2 infrastructure?
Yeah, great question. And this is one of the reasons why we built LightLink, right? We already have projects in media. So if you watch a movie, some of the characters that you like can be collected as digital assets. So as a memorabilia, when you look at our current clients from our solutions business, Pella, we work with large investment banks that tokenize real world assets. We do large sporting events like Tennis Australia, Australian Open, and potentially there's a ticketing loyalty angle there. Over the next month, we'll be announcing some really awesome partnerships with some of the largest media companies in the world to look at how we are improving existing Web 2 capabilities. And maybe that's adding Web 3 concepts, just things like digital collectibles, earning points, unlocking things with the points that you've collected. But like I said earlier, payments, better financial inclusion systems, supply chain, are all the other things that we're exploring as well.
Well, hopefully, very soon, you'll be able to buy, in Australia Open, and then maybe Wimbledon, US Open, and many other tournaments, with the help of LightLink, and your ticket will be in a form of NFT, and we'll all benefit from it practically. Roy, really appreciate your taking time to share your thoughts with us, and now it's time for us, to wrap up this part. But again, hopefully, this is not our last conversation, right? We'll be supporting you guys. We're big fans, so obviously there's a reason why we did this integration, and we're looking forward for your success. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining this special episode at BullCaster today, and we're gonna see you in about 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Constantine. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.